Hoping you recall, we recently spoke to Alex Deakin from Ipswich Cladiators, facing a bill of £12,000 for insufficient cladding wrapped around the area that he lives, the apartment that he lives in, reporting to us that the value of his home is absolutely zero at the moment as a result. Now, he, amongst others, campaigning for a shield to protect them from fire safety costs. That was rejected by MPs. Well, in the Queen's speech, the Building Safety Bill was added. Will this offer the protection that Alex and other cladding campaigners were hoping for? Alex Deakin back on the programme with us today. Morning, Alex.
Good morning.
According to the government, it will help leaseholders. What's your reaction to what you've heard from the Building Safety Bill yesterday?
Our reaction is that, no, it won't protect us. The fire safety bill that you mentioned earlier, MPs claimed that the Building Safety Bill announced yesterday was going to be the right place to deal with the question of who pays for fire safety costs. However, looking at the initial legislation on the Building Safety Bill announced yesterday, no, it won't protect us from the costs, and in fact, it could make the situation worse.
It could make it worse. OK, well, tell us what is in that bill and tell us why it won't work for you and many others.
OK, so the Building Safety Bill increases the scope and the ability for building owners to pass on the costs to leaseholders by completely ignoring any clauses in a leasehold contract.
This does leave you in a quandary. You mentioned to us last time. Are you still with us, by the way?
Yeah, still
fantastic. You told us last time that you're facing a bill of $12,000. You were possibly contemplating bankruptcy and all of that. Your property is worth zero. And this has done nothing by the sounds of it, Alex, to allay those fears or to help in any way.
Exactly, yeah. I'm in the exact same position that I was 2 weeks ago, despite the claims from the government that this new bill would resolve my situation.
So what would you, in an ideal world, have had that bill do, just to remind us?
Yeah, so in an ideal world, the government will pay for the entire costs of all fire safety defects, cladding and any others that are present in our buildings, and then take years to reclaim the money from those responsible.
So you're conceding that it's not the government's fault directly. You want them to claim that back from the building companies. Was there any mention in there about the shift of responsibility to those who built the thing in the first place?
At the moment, there's a very small shift of responsibility where a developer tax will be included, but that is only $2 billion for a problem that is estimated to be at least $15 billion across the country.
Yeah, because we're not, of course, just talking about Suffolk here. We are talking about the entire nation, of which there is a staggering number of people involved in a similar situation to you. So as it stands, I guess you're feeling this could be the end of the road and you're facing your worst fears over this.
Yeah, exactly. Facing our worst fears. We're still living in unsafe buildings, and seeing the fire in London last week was a terrifying sight.
That must have been,
us.
You must have had your heart in your mouth when you saw those pictures coming through.
Definitely. Because it could have so easily been us here or any other building in Suffolk or around the country. You know, this can happen at any point, and the fire did spread quite quickly.
Just to refresh us, when people buy property or they take out a lease, there will be a degree of surveying and all of that. Do you have any comeback to those who have presumably done a survey and have given it the tick, the thumbs up?
Personally, I have no comeback. When I purchased my property, I went through all of the correct procedures by talking and using surveyors, and I'm in a really big legal black hole that I cannot get out of.
Right. So presumably at the time of build, the product that was used was within building specs, was within building regulations, was it?
Yeah, so at the time, the building was signed off absolutely fine. But since the Grenfell Tower tragedy, regulations have changed, and they've changed correctly.
Yeah.
They did need to change because they were very poor.
But it's left you with the bill.
Yeah, because the goalposts have moved, now we are suddenly, as leaseholders and the homeowners, in an absolutely terrible position.
So, given that this bill had its airing yesterday, you've heard that, you've reacted to it, you've told us about that. Where do you go from here, Alex?
Where we go from here is to keep on campaigning. There will be protests, and I hope that I'm proved wrong and that the government does change its course and does come up with a comprehensive package to save us from this situation.
And while this is all going on, you are still surrounded by what we now know to be cladding that would be today deemed unsafe, right?
That's correct. So if this building was built today, it would not be signed off as safe.
For people who say, well, then just move, as we've already talked about, that's easier said than done because you can't shift that property at the moment.
I cannot shift this property. Mortgage lenders will not lend to anyone who would want to buy my property. I could sell to a cash buyer or auction, but I'll be facing a much reduced price due to the issues that are so public here.
I'm trying to sort of see if there's any comparisons in other areas of life. For instance, if you buy a property and then years later there's some kind of settlement, and in terms of ground settlement, and structural damage is created, often there is a way in which, and you need to correct me if I'm wrong here, but there are processes which you can go through that help you with all of that, isn't there?
Not in our case, unfortunately.
Not in your case, no. I'm just trying to think of other ways that there would have been assistance had it not been specifically this particular case. So
another real life example is when you buy a car.
Right.
If there's a fault with the car, the garage takes it back.
Yeah.
And they give you a refund.
Fix it. Yeah.
Or fix it, exactly. But buying a house or buying an apartment is the biggest purchase anyone would make in their life. And we are being offered no help at all.
You know, it's a really good analogy because a lot of people will be familiar with now. A lot of cars do get recalled because they discover a problem later in the life of the car. They discover something in the manufacturer that's not quite right, and we're all, I suspect, or many of us will be familiar with those letters coming through from the main dealer. Can we have it back for half a day? We need to attend to this. Well, this is no different, surely, Alex. This is no different.
Yeah, there is no difference, but unfortunately, we're in this situation, and it's not the same industry as the car industry.
How will you continue the campaigns, and how do you plan to get your message across, Alex?
Okay, well, the first thing to get our message across is that Ipswich Cladiators will be at the Ipswich Cornhill on Saturday, the 22nd of May. And we'll have leaflets available for the public and your listeners to pick up if they wish.
Yeah.
And they're free to speak to us about the cladding scandal and the building safety crisis and how it might affect them as well.
Obviously, with it being a safety issue, and this may have already happened, surely Suffolk Fire Service and all fire services around the country must have huge concerns about this as well. They would be keen, I suspect, to join the pressure that's being put on to get this resolved.
Yeah, I'm sure that they are also concerned, and that's why we have a 24/7 waking watch patrol.
So you literally have people like back in the war, fire watchers they were called, people literally keeping their eye out on the building.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Alex, thank you so much for the update. It was mentioned in the Queen's speech yesterday, but as we've heard there from Alex Dickin from the Ipswich Cladiators, nothing to assist many of the people who are facing thousands of pounds worth of repair bills and who have property that they are frankly lumbered with as a result of being, shall we say, overlooked, for the want of a better phrase, at the moment. The campaign continues. Alex Dickin of the Ipswich Cladiators, keep well, my friend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.